the real alcoholic. So this is called the real alcoholic, right? Different from the moderate drinker and the heavy drinker. So I'm gonna just say, I'm gonna put up my hand and say, I'm a real alcoholic. I don't know about you, but yeah.
I'm a real alcoholic.
But and we laugh, right? People might be wondering if people are watching this and they're new and they don't know about alcoholism, they might be wondering, why are we laughing? And that's interesting. Why are we laughing? Why do we find that funny? It is funny. It is funny. And I'll explain. You tell me what you think. It's funny to me because it was only until I realized that I am the worst type of alcoholic that I was able to actually do something about it. You know what I mean? If you told me I was a moderate drinker, I would still be drinking right now. If you told me I was a heavy drinker, I would still be drinking right now. But what you guys told me, right? By you guys, I mean the fellowship and the people who helped me to get sober. What they told me, what they explained to me was, I'm a real alcoholic. I'm worse than a moderate drinker. I'm worse than a heavy drinker. Nothing you say or do or try to convince me will ever pull me away from the drink. The heavy drinker, he might be on the brink of losing his liver. So he's been all over town, man. He's falling on his face, pissing on himself. And the doctor says to him, boy, if you have another drink, you're going to lose your liver and you're going to die. And he's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. I'm out. The moderate drinker might go to a party, fall on his face a couple of times. Next time, not drink. So he can take it or leave it. Not drink for a couple of years. You know, maybe he's figure, I don't want to drink anymore and just stop drinking. That's the moderate drinker. The real alcoholic, the doctor will say to him, you're going to lose your liver. The next drink you put into your mouth, you're going to lose that liver. He has that on day 1. On day 2, he's back at it again drinking.
100%. I mean, that's been my own experience in itself. I wanted to convince myself that I was a heavy drinker.
I thought I was a heavy drinker.
Yeah, and you know, journey of recovery and the text is that, you know, it goes back to, you know, we have to smash that delusion, whether we're a real alcoholic or not. Otherwise, it's that the head trying to convince myself that I'm anything but a real alcoholic. And what does that mean for me? Me actually admitting I'm a real alcoholic is also accepting that I have a problem. Okay. And for me to get to that place was, you know, I had the psychiatry help. They were speaking to me. I'm sitting in a psychiatric hospital. And I've been into hospitals, and my liver functions going way higher. I'm seizing. They're having to put the drips in me. And it said, you know, if you carry on, you're gonna die. And I walk out of that hospital, and the mind says, "Oh well, you got away with that one. Okay, you're not. You know." They said you might die.
That's good. That's good.
You might die. That means that
good.
it's not. It's not.
Your alcoholism is a genius. That's good. Your alcoholism is a lawyer. You might die. It's a play on words, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like that. That would convince me, by the way. That's a good one. I'm not saying that would have gotten me.
There's a chance that I might not die.
Yeah. That's good.
You know, and again, it's the nature of the illness is that my mind. I don't want to let go of the drink. Okay, so I'm going to convince myself that there is a problem. There's another problem other than that I'm an alcoholic.
And that that goes back to what you were talking about. You're talking about the message. So this is the passage in the big book. And if you're listening and you're new, when we say the big book, we mean the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which you can get online. All you need to do is search in Google Big Book Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's free. Anybody can access this book. And I don't remember the chapter or the page. I think it might be more about alcoholism. I'm not sure. But it says frothy emotional appeal. seldom suffices. The message must have depth and weight, right? And it's in the context of, and so it's that passage spoke to me so clearly, because a number of times my own mother, for example, would say to me, Tonkie, just have one drink. You're such a good boy. You just why you have to do that to yourself? That's the frothy emotional appeal, right? And it was coming from my mother, the person I love, a person who I know loves me.
I had the same. I had my whole family, crying emotionally.
Yeah.
Why are you
Frothy
doing this
emotional
to
appeal.
yourself?
Yeah.
Dude, I was in a psychiatric hospital
Mm.
and the cleaner came to my bedside, sat on my bed, and that frothy emotional appeal. She goes, "You seem like such a nice guy. Why are you doing this to yourself?" And I'm sitting there baffled, absolutely baffled.
I thought they were lying. I actually thought they were lying when they would say, "You're such an intelligent boy." You're such an. I thought, really? Am I? There's so many people out there more intelligent than me. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? I didn't believe what they were saying to me, because if I looked in a mirror at that moment in my life, I wouldn't think the image in that mirror is me. You know what I mean? So the person that they were describing, I had no idea who that was, right? It was the delusion. The delusion was it manifested in the real world. I looked in the mirror. I didn't recognize who I saw. In fact, I didn't like who I saw. But who I was looking at is me. So how could I not like what I'm seeing? It's me, right? But it's like I've warped my own image into something else. But the people who are looking at me, they're seeing a nice person. They're seeing the person in the mirror, the actor. But I can't see it, right? And yeah, that frothy emotional appeal, and the message must have depth and weight. And so, what is that depth and that weight? Well, if they were saying to me, so look at the difference. Pat, you're such a nice boy. You're so nice. Why you drink? So why you doing this to yourself? Don't do this to yourself. Look at the difference between that and Pax. You're fucking powerless over alcohol. If you carry on drinking, you will die. You're powerless over alcohol. Your life is unmanageable. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference there.
There is a difference. I would add to that is that one alcoholic talking to another alcoholic. That's the one. Because the thing is, just saying to me,
that's the key.
I'm powerless, and you are in Pax, you're gonna die.
Coming from another alcoholic.
But it's coming from another alcoholic. But that other alcoholic is gonna share experience, strength, and hope. You're hearing the message from somebody who has been through it, who understands the hopelessness, who understands the despair, who understands the pain and suffering. And it's real. And it's that identification.
And it's fascinating, to me. One of my favorite parts of every part of the big book I love, but one of my favorite parts of the big book is also when Bill Wilson, the guy who's one of the authors of the big book, when one of his friends comes to visit him at his house, and they sit in the kitchen and they talk about, and he knows that his friend is supposed to be an alcoholic, but his friend is talking about how he's spiritually awakened and he's free and there's all this stuff, and he doesn't drink, he hasn't had a drink, and blah blah blah. And he's like, wow, this guy is what an idiot. this guy is he's too evangelical, but he found religion. What's wrong with this guy? And it's like he's rejecting it. But it's still that one-to-one, but he's rejecting his mind. The ego is telling him that's all nonsense, but the seed is being planted. So what's fascinating to me about that story is that same guy who was rejecting what his friend was saying, he wrote the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous in the end.
Yep.
Think about that.
Yeah.
He was thinking that his friend was a bloody lunatic, right? And then years later, he writes a book that's literally has saved millions of people from the disease of alcoholism. Crazy.
It reminded me of a experience that I had I'm sitting in a psychiatric hospital, and then group therapy, and you have a person come in from outside who shared experience, strength, and hope. You know what the insanity is my mind is looking to reject everything to prove that I'm not an alcoholic. And this man shared, his heartfelt, experience, strength, and hope, and he was speaking about his journey, what he did, what happened, where he is now. And in my mind, it was like, what a poor sod. This guy had to go through a ringer. Okay. And this is where my ego was really rampant. And I say the word rampant, it was blocking me from even going near of smashing that delusion. Oh, this poor sod. He had to really get mangled in such a way he didn't have control. And I've still this idea that I can control this. I can really be able to fix it through intellect alone, which is insanity. The experience shows me I'm sitting in a psychiatric hospital and I can't do this on my own. I'm actually receiving help. And it's amazing how the noise goes, but that delusion goes deep. And yet, years on, I mean, you were sitting on a couch together.
Okay,
talking
so
about
let's because I have so many things that come into mind when you're speaking. And the name of this episode is the Real Alcoholic. But we said we would talk about alcoholism. So if someone's new to recovery, someone thinks they have a problem, they might have a problem, they're not sure. This is to kind of help them to understand the illness, the disease of alcoholism, what it's about, what we've been told, what we've learned about alcoholism from the fellowship and from the big book. So I think let's try and do it this way, because I there's some things that I prefer you to talk about, because I just like the way you talk about these things. So let's break it down between the physical addiction and the spiritual malady. I'll do the physical, you do the malady. Right?
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Let's go with it.
So what I've learned is that alcoholism is a disease, right? But it's a very peculiar type of disease. It's a disease that means I am allergic to alcohol. Okay, I have an allergy. So it's not different from if I have an allergy when the sun comes out, when spring comes in, and the pollen is in the air, and I go to the park. I'm like I'm horrible. I mean, my nose blocks up. I'm allergic to a lot of things around, right? But it turns out I'm also allergic to alcohol. And it makes sense to me. But how am I allergic to alcohol? What is the reaction? I told you when I go out into the park, the pollen is in the air, and sometimes when I'm in St. Lucia and I'm close to the beach, the sand that's in the air, it goes into my sinus, and I get this reaction, right? So this is a very common allergy that I can explain, that makes sense to me, and that's fine. I mean, the alcoholism makes sense, but I'm saying it makes sense to everybody. But the alcoholism is similar. I'm allergic, but instead of going like that, I go, I drink. They call it a phenomenon of craving. I love that, actually. The Beatles were a phenomenon. The Beatles were a phenomenon. Michael Jackson was a phenomenon. A phenomenon, a comet flying across the Milky Way is a phenomenon. A phenomenon is something that's so extraordinary that sometimes it's hard to even put words to it. That's a phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's not an occurrence. Right? They use the word a phenomenon of craving. It's a craving that is to such a high degree that it's something that you can't even fathom in its quantity. It's so powerful that you can't even quantify it, really. You know, I always go back to the Beatles. Remember, in the height of the Beatles, this is a weird analogy, but I love it. In the height of the Beatles' success, you'd always see these crowds. That's why they were a phenomenon. When they would come in on stage, you see these crowds of people going, fainting. Oh my God! That's a phenomenon. You can't explain that. Why are they reacting this way, right? Because they had never seen anything like that before. You know, it was overwhelming, physically overwhelming. And I love tying that into the craving, right? It's a phenomenon of craving. It's physically, mentally, spiritually overwhelming. You cannot control it. And what it does is you put that drink in for the alcoholic, because we're allergic to alcohol. When we put the drink down, the craving kicks in, the physical phenomenon of the craving kicks in, and we drink against our will. Right? So I'm just going to add before I hand it over to you that phenomenon of craving re, progresses. So you may have a few drinks and maybe come home late one night, and I don't know, maybe fall over another night. Maybe you stay out 2 nights next time. Maybe you stop for a week, but then the next time you drink for a week. You know what I mean? It's very progressive, and it can be very slow and patient. And it's one of its greatest weapons, because while it's being slow and patient, you might see somebody further along the line of that alcoholism progression than you, like a homeless person, like a person who is drinking on a street drinker. And because you're not along, because you're so far away from that, well, presumably, sometimes we are close to that, but because it's progressive, you don't see yourself there. You think, that can't be me, man. Nah.
That's where the rationalizing.
But that's you.
Yeah.
That's you.
That's a progression.
That's the greatest trick alcoholic plays on our minds. It convinces us that all of those yets, you'll never lose your house. You'll never become homeless. You'll never go to jail. It convinces you that you'll never get there, because why? Look at how slowly we're progressing. You're only staying out 2 nights. You're not homeless.
Which is the obsession, the mental obsession. And what I want to add to this is that you spoke about the phenomenon of craving. I am allergic to alcohol. Once I put a drink in me, my body, my physical body, is demanding more.
Yeah.
And it wants more. And it is that kind of phenomena where there's no mental capacity to stop that.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've heard it a lot as well, is that when someone's not drinking, and they say I'm craving a drink, actually craving only occurs once I put a drink in me.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the only time I can have a craving for alcohol. And when I'm not drinking, it's the obsession. It's the mental obsession rather than the physical.
We're going to do our usual pause.
Yeah.
Okay. Every episode we pause. Okay, we're going to call this. Let's call this part of our podcast Pax's Nuggets. I think we should have a jingle.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm not joking. This is from me. I don't give a shit about anybody else. This is from me now. You just taught me something. I love learning about recovery because it helps my recovery. And I am 100% sure that anybody who just heard what you just said is going, oh yeah. So that is a definitive oh yeah moment. Because that's it. So let's marinate on that, because this is important. So so I want to try and understand what you just said, right? You said once fucking that's so good. Once I take the first drink and I put it in, the phenomenon of craving kicks in and I can't stop drinking. When I'm not drinking, I don't have that craving, but I have that mental obsession. So I'm stuck between the physical craving and the mental obsession.
This is all kind of set out in a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and where it's written by a doctor.
Yeah.
It's Dr. William Silkworth.
The doctor's opinion, which is in the front of the big book.
Right.
I encourage anybody who has or thinks they have a problem with alcoholism to read the doctor's opinion in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. The doctor's opinion.
Where it's set out, and it goes in, what really makes me an alcoholic is that there's that 2-part, is that once I take a drink, actually, it's to diagnose myself as an alcoholic, I only need to answer 2 questions. Really, 2 questions. But it's not that easy. Because once I've answered those 2 questions, the mind goes, well, no, that can't be.
Yeah.
But it's that simple.
Yeah.
And it's in the literature, and it says that if I honestly ask myself, I find I cannot quit entirely. Now, I've sworn off. I've tried to change my environment, the job, what's going around.
Hold on. While you're
circumstances.
doing that, I want to take off my own alcoholism. Right?
Yeah.
Go again.
Right.
Go again.
Okay.
Because that's
So
good.
I've sworn off.
That's me.
I'll change environments.
That's
I
me.
did a geographical. I
That's
went
me.
to another country. I
That's
said
me.
business is the issue.
That's
London's
me.
the
That's
issue.
me.
The girlfriend's the issue.
me.
The family is the
That's
issue.
me.
Right? I tried everything and
That's me.
thinking that all, and I'm pointing fingers, 3 fingers pointing straight back at me.
You just named
Right?
off all of the things that I did.
Right.
Yeah.
So I honestly, if I get honest with it, and this is where rigorous honesty comes in, I get honest with myself and say, I find I cannot quit entirely. And quit entirely means I need to stop. And I find I can't.
Yeah, that honesty.
Yeah.
That honesty has to come from being entirely and utterly broken by alcohol.
Right.
It has to break you. And I'm sorry to say, but we have come to realize that break, that final break is a gift, right? It's your first step towards that spiritual journey.
Yeah.
But it's a doozy. It's not easy. But it has to happen. We don't deny anybody their rock bottom. You have to get to that ultimate rock bottom.
Right. And it's also the journey through smashing the delusion.
Yeah.
Right? The belief. For myself, it was the belief that I have control. I can do this on my own. That's one side of it. The other side of it is that alcohol's not the issue.
Yeah.
I'm not the issue. Everything else is the issue. There was a load of things. But what it brings it back to that question, if I honestly ask myself, I find I cannot quit entirely. And the word entirely.
Entirely, yeah.
It's like I'm having havoc and chaos behind me.
But let's stop, because this is for the newcomers as well. The only solution, and there are other ways you can get to that solution, but the only solution for the alcoholic, for the real alcoholic, is total and complete abstinence. Now, that goes to what you're saying. Am I willing to quit entirely? Right? The solution is that entirely means you can never, ever touch a drink again.
100%. And it goes back to that once I start, I set off that phenomenon of craving. I want another. And there's chaos. There's carnage. There's unmanageability. There's pain. There's suffering. So it's all visible. I've experienced it. So that gives me an idea that if I have another drink, that the same thing's going to occur.
And that goes into the unmanageability. So unmanageability isn't just I fell one night, or it's subjective. It's like, because a person falling one night, maybe that person is in his 70s and he breaks his hip. You know what I mean? Like, it's all subjective. Everybody has their own unmanageability experience. And that goes back to what you were also saying. It's a weird disease because you have to self-diagnose. You can know if you're an alcoholic. No one can tell you an alcoholic. You have to admit, I am an alcoholic, before you can start doing something about it. And that makes it a little bit difficult. You know what I mean? But it becomes easier when you're broken in that way, when you get to that rock bottom, because it's clear and your manageability becomes clear.
Right. I'm going to go into, I'm going to love your point of view on this, is that it's very easy to see the unmanageability drinking and the chaos and carnage occurring. It's very easy. It's very difficult to see the unmanageability when we're not drinking. Okay? Which is the real unmanageability that I found. It's not that when I'm drinking. See, once I take that drink, I will set off from a craving. I am not in control. The drink is in control. I'm, there's nothing that's going to, my physical body is demanding more and more. I want more, and I keep going for more until I'm passed out. So, which is showing me that I cannot drink safely again, ever. That's not where the real problem is. The problem is that I can't, quit entirely, because the problem is when I'm not drinking.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it's where the mental obsession really does come in. How powerful the mental obsession really is. It's like and we spoke about this in the other recording we did. Okay, it's that if alcohol's the issue, then all I've got to do is stop drinking. Okay, just stop.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I actually believed the alcohol was the issue.
What did Monica used to say? Bless her.
Yeah?
Monica,
Oh,
you're
the
a good friend.
one-liners. And
Yeah.
she said, if alcohol's your issue, then just stop drinking.
Yes.
But if alcohol's your solution, then you have a problem. Boy, and those one nuggets are powerful. But it's so true. And look, let's go back into, where we're talking about the doctor's opinion. And it says men and women essentially drink for the effect produced by alcohol. See, I drank for the effect. We spoke about that before. The effect for myself was absolutely electric.
I hate alcohol.
Right.
I hate alcohol.
I don't like the taste of it.
I don't like the taste of anything. Vodka, wine. I hate wine. I hate white wine. I hate beer. I don't like pints of. I don't like alcohol. I strictly drank for the effects.
Right. So the effect for me was absolutely electric.
Yeah.
And I spoke about it. It's like a misguided spiritual experience. Because it's doing something for me, within me, and taking that fear away, dampening the noise in the head.
So that's the spirituality.
Right.
So what is that? That's what I wanted to get from you.
Right.
And and you talked about the mental obsession, and we kind of went through the physical allergy as well. But there's that malady that we talk about. So that feeling of I'm not quite right. I want this the oblivion. Why do we strive to get to oblivion?
Right. Okay. So in that same passage, in that paragraph, it's beautifully written. Actually, it's beautifully written. It says, whilst it admits injurious, and now I know that my drinking career has been injurious. Yeah. They cannot, after a time, differentiate between the truth and the false. Okay. Now, because I'm rationalizing everything I'm doing and justifying that actually and the consequences occurring, well, it's not that bad. I haven't killed nobody, so it's okay. The head. So I'm rationalizing. I'm convincing myself I actually don't have an issue, and I can't differentiate between the truth and the false.
Right.
But what it goes in and it ties with my experience completely is that they're restless, irritable, and discontented. Okay, and he uses those three words. I also add to that, and I've done this, is that I've gone into the dictionary to actually look at what those words mean. Because now I put the drink down, I'm sitting with myself, and the obsession. I like to call it is the self-obsession. I'm completely obsessed with myself. Okay, and I'm left with my restlessness, the irritable, and I'm discontented. And I've expanded those words, and it's amazing. And I encourage anybody to actually look at those words. In the face of it, those words just, all right, I'm restless, irritable, discontented. But actually look at the similars that actually are related to what those words mean. And I tie it with the bedevilments. And it's written what the bedevilments are. I'm having trouble with personal relationships. Okay, I'm a prey to misery and depression. I have a feeling of uselessness. I have no real help to others. There's another one, but it kind of grabs all of that. It's all rubbering inside. I can't sit with myself. So I'm in this edgy place. And then in that passage, it also says, after they succumb to the desire again, as so many do, they go through the well-known stages of a spree, emerging remorseful with a firm resolution not to do this again. And this is repeated over and over.
That's the firm resolution, right? So the number of times I've said, I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to do it again. And it's not a resolution that comes out of some sort of, remodeling of my life. Like I'm gonna buy a new car, or I'm gonna find a new job. I'm gonna change my job. It's not that. it's a resolution that's coming out of desperation, right? I desperately need to change the way my relationship with alcohol. Not that I don't want to drink. Sometimes it's just maybe I want to drink less, right? But the resolution is there, and I made it many times. I actually managed to not drink for an entire year. I'll never forget that. And the reason why it's so pronounced in my head because I've not drank now for 11 years, and I have that 1 year to compare those 11 years to, and that 1 year that I didn't drink, this was before I came into recovery. That 1 year that I didn't drink was probably just as bad as all of the other years when I was drinking. You know what I mean? Because even though I had put down the drink, I was still left with myself. You know what I mean? Which I hadn't done anything about. Right? So all I was doing was going out to the same places with the same people, but not drinking. I still thought the same things about myself. Like you say, I didn't think I was useful. I didn't think I could be of use to anybody else's life. I was full of fear, full of resentment for certain things, certain aspects of my life. All of these things were just sitting with me, but I wasn't drinking. And I actually wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy because what that does is it bubbles up all that stuff over time. And the next opportunity you get to drink, it's going to set you off even worse than before. And that's what happened to me. And at the end of that year, and that whole year, I built up some good credibility. You know, like, well, this guy doesn't drink. You know, I don't know how he does it. He goes out and he has a great time. He doesn't drink. And this is what was being said about me. And at the end of that year, it was New Year's. I'll never forget. It was New Year's. And I thought, let me have a toast at 12 o'clock. Yeah. A glass of champagne. Just a glass of champagne. Yeah. And then maybe and the next day I'll carry on with my sobriety. And I had that glass and that I didn't stop drinking from that moment till I came into recovery. Right. And it just got progressively worse. And what does that tell us? What does that tell us? It goes back to the malady. You can put down the drink, right? That allergy, it's there. It doesn't go away. That obsession, it's there. It doesn't go away until you deal with that internal stuff. Until you get spiritually well.
So it goes to the way I can relate it. Okay, if I take a drink, I'm allergic to alcohol. Right, that's one side of the sword, and I'll go on causing chaos, havoc, pain, suffering. Yeah. I realize it's an issue. Yeah. Okay, I accept alcohol's the issue. If I drink, I'm gonna there's pain and suffering coming. Okay, so I put the drink down. I spoke about this just yesterday when we were good. I put the drink down. So that means that then alcohol's not the issue no more because it's not within my system. Now I'm allergic to life.
Yeah.
I can't function and cope with life on life's terms. Right?
Now you're talking about bad.
That's the bedevilment.
It's not just
stuff.
the bad stuff, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. I can't cope with success.
Yeah.
I can't cope with failure. I can't cope with death. I can't cope with birth. I can't cope with anything.
Right.
The ups or the downs.
Okay. And I completely get that. And that's where the dangerous part of this is. The self-obsession really comes in. Yeah. I'm constantly just processing, thinking, my head's racing. Guilt, shame, remorse of actions and behaviors. It's just whirling within me. Okay. I have this feeling of uselessness. I'm not worthy. Yeah. The self-pity is flying through. I should be able to get this. I can't get this. I've got no control. All that noise, it's just whirling around. And then get to that place. It's like, the ego comes in and says, just fuck it. What's the point? Yeah. You know? And the other part is that not having a thinking process to it because everything is whirling around. And guess what? When I drink, what I receive from that drink is ease and comfort. Yeah. With that momentary, the small amount. And then it's chaos.
You know, I didn't drink for ease and comfort. I drank to literally remove myself from reality. So I would only drink for the purpose of getting to that oblivion. Oblivion for me was when I don't know where I am, what I'm doing, who I'm talking to, and
Peace.
it doesn't matter.
Peace. Different form.
Different form.
Yeah.
And it was me running.
Yeah.
That's when I'm running away. I had this knee jerk, almost reflexive tendency to just run away from life. Think about how insane that is. How are you running away from life? Where you going? To Jupiter? You stuck with where are you going? You can go and live in a bloody desert, okay, on your own in a tent, right? You still have to look for food. You still have to look for water. You still have to get supplies. You still have to buy the tent. You can't run away from life.
I'll ask you this question, Tony. Who are you running away from?
When you go in that desert and you're in that tent, you're still there for yourself.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's running away from myself. I can't sit with myself. All those bedevilments we were speaking. It's like I'm full of resentment, and that fear of not being able to cope.
We call them geographicals, right?
I'll share it. I share it. This is also what.
Tell them what a geographical is.
I'll share an experience where, beautiful geographical, loaded with insanity.
Yeah.
Convincing myself that London's the issue, the business stress is the issue. I'm pointing everywhere, and the failure to accept that I'm the issue. But I've got an idea that there is an issue within me in some, but it's more to do with everything else. So I flew off to India. I said, I need a break. I need a holiday. I spent time having holidays in psychiatric hospitals, so I thought, now I need a different holiday. But in these psychiatric hospitals, they said that I've got an illness that centers in my mind, and my mind convinced me that if I fix the problem in the mind, right? Okay, I can drink again. I can safely drink. Okay, there's a wiring that's faulty. And now the only thing I need to do is to get a brain surgeon, go in there, and fix it. Right? Had the resources to do that. So I flew off to India. I had 2 brain surgeons, I had 2 doctors, I had the nursing staff all around me, and I said to them, in such a cocky way, I go, do an MRI on my head. They was baffled. They go, why? What's wrong with you? I go, don't worry, just do the MRI. As if I know what I'm talking about. But I did. I really, and they came back, they did the scans, because they don't want to do MRI scans because of the radiation, and unless there's an issue. And I'm forcing them to do an MRI on me. Anyway, they come back with these scans, and they go, Alex, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your brain. They show me these scans. Okay. And I said, you don't know what you're doing. You have no idea as brain surgeons. And then there was a dot on the scan, there's a tiny dot on the MRI scan. I said, see that dot there? Right? See that dot? That's my problem. And you guys can't sort this out. You know, the insanity in that is that I'm telling brain surgeon. I'm not a brain surgeon. I'm trying to teach them how to do their job. But this is the power of, I need to have an answer. Something needs to be fixed. But also, that is the power of alcoholism in itself. I do not want to let go of my best friend. How do I let go of the very thing that's giving me that ease and comfort? I can't let go. So I'm going to have to save. I have to find something that's wrong so I can have this still. So I'm able to function. Anyway, I stormed out of there because they couldn't solve the problem. But I really wanted to come back, right, and go to all the psychiatric hospitals and say, you're all crazy, right? This is the real solution. Now you can all go and drink like normal people again, right? And I wanted to kind of bring, it's nuts, insanity. And then, I'm sitting in a different country in this idea that, the problem is London and the stresses and everything else. And now I didn't drink for a few months, and I go, see, that's the when I'm here in this place, it's serene. I don't have any problems. Okay. So anyway, I still wasn't fully convinced. I went to an ENT doctor, and the ENT, I had a nasal issue. My breathing was kind of. I just thought, you know what? While I'm here, I'll just get a full MOT and whatever. Anyway, I went to the brain surgeon. This is how powerful the ego is. I'll tell you. It's like the ENT doctor goes, I've got a deviated septum. And I go, what does that do? Because, well, you're not getting the right oxygen through one side of your nasal. And, and it's getting trapped on the other. My head went straight to this point. That's why I can't stop drinking. The right side of the brain is not getting enough oxygen as the left side of the brain. And I actually believed that once I have this operation, I can drink normally again. I really did. And do you know what? I had the operation. I was like masked up. And and it all kind of healed. And I had a few drinks just to test if I could drink like a gentleman. It just showed that the chaos just started again. And, I ended up flying back to London, completely plastered, straight into another rehab. It was complete insanity. But that was my geographical.
Yeah, but it doesn't. And that's the thing about geographicals. It's a delusion, right? It doesn't matter where you are. I mean, my recovery has smashed that delusion completely. It's probably one of the very few things that have been completely smashed as a delusion in my recovery. Is that geographical? Why? I left this country in 2004 after I did my law degree. That was after about 3 years. Don't ask me how I got that degree, but it was 3 years of carnage. I was drinking all the time, just consume the amount of alcohol I consumed while I was doing my law degree. I can't even begin to tell you. And the carnage and the night outs, and it was just unbelievable. And I thought,
can I ask a question? Did you believe that you studied better drinking?
No, I was shocked that I was studying. I was, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I could tell you stories. I can't understand how I even got. To this day, I cannot understand why or how I became a qualified lawyer. I don't understand it. I chalk it down. I mean, there were times where, obviously, there were times where I had to study, and I guess in those short moments, those short periods of time where I did put my head down and studied, that allowed me to retain some information and pass the exams. But it's baffling to me. I mean, we talk about our higher power, and we talk about something greater than ourselves in our lives, working and helping us to put us where we are now so that we can be useful. I think that was what God was doing. I think I was always meant to become a lawyer to get to this point. All of these instances, all of these moments in my life were pre-planned, right? I wasn't in control of that stuff. And it was so that I can come here and be in the seat right now and doing what I'm doing. That's how I look at it, because anything else doesn't make any sense, But anyway, when I got my law degree, I left. I went back to St. Lucia, where I'm from. And I worked with my uncle. And I thought, I'm never going back to London. That place, there is too much alcohol. I drink there like a fish. I'm going to ruin my life. I'm never going back there. And I burned my bridges, and I'm gone. And I spent 7 years in St. Lucia. I drank throughout those 7 years anyway, so it didn't really make any difference. But why I'm saying the delusion is smashed is because the very place where I attributed all of my carnage and all of my drinking, that heavy drinking, is the very place where I got sober.
Well, it's been the same for me.
What the fuck? And I can't imagine living in another city. This is where my recovery is. These are where my meetings are. This is where you live. All my fellows are here. It's the place where I would go out and disappear for days and go to all of these raves and squat parties and have this really crazy life. And now I'm in the same place, the same geographical, and I'm sober.
Right.